watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really wanna talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, and he likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Rock Podcast. I am your host, Andy, and my rotating co-host this week, although I guess she herself is not rotating. Welcome to the show, Emma.
I can rotate if you want.
Yeah,
It might be a little harder to hear.
Yeah, and you get tangled in those headphone cords. The whole deal. Let's just forget it all happened. Hey, haven't talked to you yet this season.
No, well, I mean, there've only been 2 weeks, so it's not like that's that crazy.
Yeah, but like 100 hours. So
Sure.
it's good that we got your take. So yeah, I'm glad to have you on because then maybe I'll find something new to talk about as opposed to hammering on the same things over and over again, which it eventually gets even tiring for me, not just the people listening. So in that regard, how have you found the season to be so far, with the note that it has only been 3 episodes?
Yeah, well, one thing is, if there's one thing that you and I can do together is talk too much. So I'm sure we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. You know, I know like you were kind of like, as much as you were sort of saying to the audience, I also know through Slack, you're kind of giving me grief about like, oh, I can't say meh. And it's like, the problem isn't the feeling. The problem is you're saying meh and then being like, it's good. And I'm like, those are different words. That's not, meh is not a neutral emotion. Meh is a negative emotion. God damn it. Sorry, if there's a honk. That is excessive. Jesus Christ. Maybe if you guys can't hear that, then I sound crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, and I was kind of reminded about this in a comment on our, post-show comments and stuff, is that it's the pre-merge, and I don't know what y'all are expecting out of a pre-merge, but it's generally, I think more often than not, is like, oh, we start to get to know people, and some of the boots are more obvious because it's early and things aren't that crazy. And, I think the term we often like to use is that this like replacement level so far, like nothing has been like unpleasant.
Yep.
Nothing's been like, holy shit. So 3 episodes in, that usually I think it's a good point, because sometimes if you get those holy shit moments too early, then everything else is terrible, or boring rather. Maybe not terrible, although you know what had a decent pre-merge? 39. So like I'm having fun. I like the characters. I think there have been some interesting moments. I think we know that 2 hours for a single boot and 90 minutes for a single boot is like not super necessary, but you gotta cater to the whims of the love boat.
Yes, that's been actually, I think, my family motto. It's on the crest. I don't know where that boat would sail, given that I'm landlocked. Yeah, I think in my past,
you have a lake, right?
I mean, there's lakes around. There's a river in the city. My
It's like close enough.
My ancestors did ford rivers, where they pick the boat up and carry it to the next body of water.
Let me tell you, you never have to explain to a millennial what fording the river means. We have all played the Oregon Trail.
There we go. And I am not making that up to play into a Canadian stereotype. That is literally my ancestry. Literally fur trappers. Anyway, yeah.
Very cliche.
People can say it with me at this time. It's fine. And I in general, as what you're saying, it's better this way. And I actually think it's a positive reflection on some of the changes that's happened with the show, that people are less focused on taking out big threats and worrying about I have to win the game now. That's a bit more of a slow play. It has resulted in maybe unfortunate pattern of voting in terms of, you know, what that can lead to. But I like, I have no problem with who they voted out, for instance. I think it was a solid choice, and we'll get to that. And I'm very grateful that this episode was not more than 42 minutes, because I found it dull at times. But yeah, as far as the season, I'm still good. My complaints from last week still stand. I don't really want to rehash them much, other than I was watching with someone new. My brother-in-law was watching, and he actually ended up laughing like out loud like a couple of times during some of the tragic backstories, just because it's like, wow, they really are laying on thick. And then I got to hear the thing I love more than anything when discussing this show. And he was right, because I was like, when I was listening last week, I always thought he was exaggerating, and then we get more tragic backstory. They're actually doing layers. It's just one of those layer cakes of happening, because it turns out, as tough as you thought things might have been for a character, there's new dimensions. Yes, it wasn't enough that Jesse is overcoming gang violence to become a PhD, but he's also dealing with the loss of a parent and all of that, and it's again affecting but I'm ready for people to be less tragic on this show.
Plus, I mean, I was a little bit like, I'm pretty sure Nneka's like 13 years older than you or something like that, bro. Like, that's not your mom. Calm down. It'd be one thing even if it was like a 20-year-old feeling that way about someone in their like 30s, but it's like, you are a father. Like, I think he's like my age, but farther along in life in that regard. And it's just like, actually, you know what? I do see you and John as my dad, so that's fair.
We might
very specific. I
believe we're probably older than Nneka, so at least there's that.
Maybe. I think she's the oldest woman on the show, but I think that also meant she's only like 43 or something. Wait, maybe Lindsay was. It doesn't matter. We don't really care that much.
No, I will say, like, she's not that old to be Jesse's mother, but she has the cardinal sin of being over 35 on Survivor, so she is an older woman. Yeah. Much like how people like to cast 39-year-old Tina as the senior citizen who won Survivor. But yeah,
I mean, Sari was 35 on the older woman.
Yep.
At least that, though, I'm pretty sure they like cast the season and then just divided it in 4, and so that was just like,
you're older than these women.
Yep.
So let's get to the result, and then I guess we'll work our way backwards, because I think the bigger reaction I had when watching was when Jeff says it's time to go cast your votes, and nothing happened. I'm like, what? Why did Noelle not play her vote? And honestly, I said, well, that's stupid. I hope she goes. That was my out loud reaction. What was your reaction?
I was also like, wait, whoa, what? Like, I thought we were pretty set up that she's playing it, but then when she didn't, well, first I had a brief second of like, no, you have to. I was like, no, it's a still vote. You have to play it first.
For a second, I did too. Like, are they going to interrupt? Like, she goes and it's like, not so fast. Like, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, but I was like, but they're doing, and their weird flashbacks. They're like, we skipped that part. Here's what happened 3 minutes ago. But yeah, I think once it was clear, I was like, okay, we didn't see it, but she must have gotten just loads of assurances, and that it was just completely obvious, to the point that I'm a little surprised that Nneka did say it was a blindside. Like, for Noelle to be that short, it almost seemed like that Nneka would have like been told, I mean, obviously you don't want to do that because shot in the dark and all that, but clearly she must have either Dwight really heard everything and was convincing enough, or Jesse and Cody like talked to all 4 of them, and they're just like, yeah, man, we don't want to keep going to tribal. We're just gonna do it, because look, we don't obviously know a lot about her gameplay yet, but like, she had such a clear-cut plan that I just don't see why she wouldn't have played it if it was not that clear.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then she's the both luckiest and stupidest player,
I want to disregard that her being away helped in that sense, and that she did not have to fake it for long. They didn't have to fake it with her for very long, to the point where, and we get to tribal council. She's the only one who isn't, absolutely positive of where the vote is going, at least verbally, and that could be her playing into the role to keep Nneka.
I thought that's what she was doing, even when I thought she was going to play, because I was like,
I thought
playing
she was going to play. Yeah, that exactly.
You would be very sure, but you can't, but you couldn't indicate that, because then they'd be, spooked by that. Although sometimes that can be a good thing. It's, layers.
Yeah. So, and then I started because my instant reaction was, it was stupid. Obviously you see the result, but even beyond result, it's like, did she get lucky, or was it the right call? And I think, as you were saying, the missing ingredient in there's no hard and fast thing. She must have really felt good about the way it was. And she does have experience of what Jesse's like when he's not telling the truth. So maybe he's acting a lot differently this time. Last time Cody had no interest in pretending at all that it wasn't her. So this time, maybe him coming, and then Dwight had that whole time, with them. So again, he might have felt secure. So like, if you really feel it, then I think actually there's a really good reason to hang on to it. Because the other reason why initially it's like, why not play it? Those things hardly ever matter, right? How often is a vote steal going to matter? It's like, this is the time. But you get past this one, now it's 2-2. Now this could really vault her into the next level, barring something else. But from a process standpoint, if you really feel like 90% sure this time, especially in comparison to last time, then I think it is worth it, because now you're setting yourself up potentially not just to escape this vote, but the next one. And obviously escaping the vote in front of you is the most important thing, but I have no criticism with the decision. Obviously it'd be weird to criticize something that worked out, but even from a process standpoint, it's like, the missing information that we don't have that they do have, it's just, she just must have really believed it. And it probably helps that it was the right call. Absolutely should have been Nneka. Now you could argue that was true last week too, and it didn't happen, but I defended it last week as if you don't trust Justine, then I guess you got to do it. This is the other reason. It's like, well, if it go again, you can vote her out then, and that's what happened. Nneka cost, or at least contributed to costing them a loss. You don't want to necessarily fully hang it on her. And for me, you got to vote her out, because in the new Survivor, you can't count on the fact that this tribe won't last much longer. What do you think? Was it the right call to vote her out?
Yeah, I think, obviously for Noelle and Dwight, then I think for Jesse, it definitely was. For Cody, I'm not sure, because I think for Jesse, like, you're thinking, even if, maybe they were thinking, okay, this is our 3, we'll just who cares if we get rid of the other 2? But, as we've seen, like, Ua in 41, Ua went down to 2 people, and they weren't even a matching tribe. Like, other tribes went to tribal, and so that shows that there's no guarantee that when they're at 3, it'll be like a merge, and it probably won't be. And in that case, if I'm Jesse, like, if Cody's gone through this far sticking with Nneka, and it seems like they were the 2, then that's dangerous. Also, Cody has an idol.
Yeah.
And so I think it's better, in that case, to kind of hope you maybe won't go to tribal again. And if not, you still kind of have Noelle to get rid of, or Dwight to get rid of, or turning, or he can go with them and be like, well, Cody is an idol, like, he's not going to expect it. You could do that. Now for Cody, it's a little tricky, because he does have an idol, so that is some insurance. But also, if Nneka is his number 1 and is like, oh, I'm never going to go against those 2, obviously that's valuable. And if he thinks, if he's down to that 3, they're both probably picking him, which is obviously valuable. And he is probably in a less secure position than he was before. But again, you do want to win. You do want to not go to tribal every single time, because
you also might want to start a fire. And this is the other part that's like part of the new Survivor.
Maybe win a reward, get some food. So it's like, I think it's less clear cut for Cody than it is for Jesse, but I don't think is like, oh my God, what a terrible decision for Cody either. There's still, like, it would probably a tougher one for him. There's probably cons.
Yeah. I think some of the changes they've introduced to Survivor have reinstated the value of challenges and work, and I actually like that, because if we're going to watch them, I'd prefer to know that the competitors care about the results. So if that means that they vote out people that are bad at them, that's fine. I don't see that as a worse reason to vote somebody out than any of the other reasons to vote people out. Like there aren't that many bad reasons to vote somebody out, so I don't see it as a grave injustice. And this isn't like a made up thing or like a base assumption. This, she's a woman, thus she's weak. Like, we've seen her demonstrably be bad twice. They tried not 1 week, and then we see it again this week that, like, she's not a physical competitor. Okay, well, then there's other things you can do. Oh, she's not good at that either. Well, then what? And yeah, it's not just you don't want to keep losing and then it's having to go to tribal council, which, yeah, like you said, it's not necessarily they'll just lose again and then let's vote out Dwight. They might lose again. But tying these challenges to rewards, I think, is also a big thing. And then the Flint is even bigger. I don't think it did Shannon Ricard a lot of favors that they didn't eat for like a week and a half or something, Well, maybe it wasn't even that long. But so, yeah, you maybe try it. This one's in my numbers, but it's like, I can't keep losing. There's enough time to reshuffle numbers, because once you get to the merge, those two will know you more than they'll know the other people. So hopefully you can kind of re-engage, especially if you now like get some wins under your belts and teamwork, and just say, hey, the beginning, we probably chose sides too quickly. Now, is that a skill set Cody has? I don't know, but you can only work against who you are, but so much. But I think the other skill set I don't think Cody has is being able to work a whole game with an albatross that I think Nneka would have otherwise been. Because once you get to a merge, I don't know that she's helpful in that regard either, because now she's just somebody nobody wants to vote out, and now you are the person that would, right? So
right. Whereas everyone's seen Noelle just perform really well in that challenge and kind of automatically have that thing, which always is unfortunate, but we've seen it with Kelly B and with Chad and Christy before. It was like, well, I don't want to go up to the end with them, and so if they're thinking that anyway, and then they've seen how well she was still able to do a pretty physical challenge, then other tribes might be looking to vote her out instead of looking at Cody, who they might find like entertaining and funny to have around at camp. Whereas as you said with Nneka, it's like, okay, we'll just have her, then I can go against fire with her or bring her to the end if I don't win, based on what we've seen so far.
I wonder, in a season where everybody is the sympathetic one, maybe the one-legged woman is king. Would that be the phrase? But it's like maybe it's no longer a problem. Maybe she has a lot of sympathy shields out there, because I'll say, as a viewer, you'd think like the record-holding Paralympian would be the inspirational one, and I don't know if she cracks the top 5 of that blog you still need to write.
Yeah, an awful lot of people liked that. Well, in our an awful lot in our metrics. And I just want to say, I hope y'all knew I was joking, because
it's horrifying, the idea. Yeah. Like, it's nice that your mission burned down, but talk to me when somebody close to you died recently.
Yeah. And like, what's worse, your sibling who you started to become estranged from because of their addiction, or your close childhood friend,
or your mother, like, yes. Oh, we'll have to like kind of resort to some Terry Beach logic.
How recent did your mother die? How old are you? Because Mariah also had been dealing with that. As like, and how old were you when that happened? Because at a certain point, it comes for us all. But like if it's Gabler, like, my parents aren't with us anymore, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yes.
You're
Sami,
older.
that's tough because
Sami, that's like,
he'll be
oh
stuck
no.
at the store.
I was like, yeah, I mean, I have a close friend who lost her mom at Sami's age, and like that definitely impacts you in a way it wouldn't, at a later age. Sami, bless his heart, man.
That's the accurate reaction.
Well, can you believe that I could outwit a 24-year-old and a 31? They think I'm 22. I'm like, okay, maybe that means something to 24-year-old Jeanine, but it does not mean anything to Elie and Owen. I can tell you that as someone who is very close to Elie and Owen's age.
You're still young. 22 is still probably somebody who the rest of the cast will like, meh. Unless again, you're just so much better than the other choices.
Mike Hirsch had a great comment on our page, which was that he really hopes, that it gets down to the end. Sami is in the final three, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, Sami, just at 22, I just think you're too young for me to vote for.
Should have gone 23.
Like, we are not, they can't all be Michael Yerger.
Yeah. I wonder if this season actually had a secret casting theme, but then Survivor, sob stories was just crossed out. And no, we can't do that. And if so, that reflects
sob stories versus Easy Street. These people have had tragedy face them. These people, their life's pretty much fine. They have their hardships as it comes, but mostly it's okay.
I mean, last week I mentioned a bunch of villains who wouldn't be able to meet this new standard, but even like somebody like Yule, I don't think would meet this standard. He didn't have a tragic backstory. It was I'm sure they could find one. He had.
He's social anxiety. It's just hard. I'm so hot and so
smart. Being super successful, intelligent. It's it's just that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is when everybody is sympathetic, then nobody is sympathetic. Yes, or then you have to do this, really tough calculation like we were just talking about.
I am just really enjoying the idea of you'll just be just going to Stanford undergrad and then Yale law and being this fucking hot. It's just tough, I'm just so attractive and intelligent. I'm
gonna get you to keep talking for a minute while I mute. I have to do something for a second.
Okay, so other villains or normal people that having backstories. I believe Rob Cesternino has joked a lot. If you're an RHAP listener, that he wouldn't get cast now. I'll say I auditioned in the past, and once I'll even reveal I got a call. Didn't go farther than that. I believe Laurel from Ghost Island got the spot I would have gotten, so I can't really argue with that decision. I mean, we can argue.
I actually can. I think
we can argue with how it turned out. We can argue, but if they're casting the super fan slot and they're like, oh, do we go with the white girl with glasses or a black woman who's a super fan? I get it. Even in the
maybe more accomplished than you were at that point.
Oh yeah, I was not particular. I continue to not be particularly accomplished, and I'm pretty sure she went to a much nicer school than I did. And so would have been interesting, but have since decided not to even apply again. I think for both my physical and mental health. And now I don't really have a tragic. I would be on the there's been some tough times, but I'd be like, oh, my parents got divorced when I was 12. Oh no!
You have to find it now. That's
they still move. Talk they both.
Everybody who's making a video.
It was fine.
Finds tragedy. If there is not tragedy in your history, go get some, because
start volunteering at children's hospitals. Get close to people.
That's right. All right.
If we believed in hell, we'd be going to it.
I just fundamentally don't believe that a show whose structure is a bunch of people are going to gather in numbers to decide which of them is not worthy of continuing on needs to always be about hopeful, inspirational stuff. This is a mean show at heart. I like that they've made it a little less mean, but it doesn't mean suddenly that this is an ABC country music special
home edition or whatever.
The ones where they build homes for people and stuff.
Anyway, remember when Extreme Makeover was about plastic surgery? What a weird time.
Only vaguely, but yes, that sounds correct.
Yeah.
So going forward with Vesi, I think there's actually potential of something very interesting. Yeah. Noelle now has her steal a vote. But if she turns around and steals Cody's vote, I kind of feel like that means Noelle is going to go home. So,
and wouldn't that be fun? Like, no shade to Noelle, just as like a concept. Like, because it's not like, wow, she played it badly. It's just like,
did it fine. Great, even.
Sometimes shit happens, man. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and you can like sit here in an armchair. Oh, that's why you steal one guy's vote and then vote for the other one. But it's just like protecting against something you don't know is going to happen. You know, they don't know that Cody has an idol. I am very convinced there's no way they do because they handed beads over to the dude. You know,
beads.
So they contributed to him getting an idol. So I think we can fairly say that they don't know as of yet. So yeah. No, maybe they don't go to tribal council again, but if they do, we could get some explosions in the pre-merge, and the kind of which that I don't think will dramatically, negatively impact going forward. Yeah.
Question though, not a hypothesis. Never mind. Question: if they stole Jesse's vote, do you think Cody would play the idol for Jesse, or would he hold on to it?
I would say it's within the realm of possibility because I cannot anticipate the moves of Cody. Could I see him doing something, kind of impulsive? Yeah. I could also see him being like, uh-oh, and just playing it for himself,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Asking to predict Cody's behavior may be a fool's errand.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting here on the other side of the mic, and he's out there living. So, how do we say? All right, let's move on to the Baka tribe, despite only losing one, still seem to be in much worse shape as a tribe than Vesi. Although, not having lost 2 in a row, a lot of people had criticisms about their decision to vote to keep the tribe strong and that they picked the wrong person. But hey, results, man. They haven't lost since then. Scoreboard. What do you think about Elie and Jeanine's plan to deal with Gabler's idol? A plan necessitated by them refusing to deal with his idol when they had the chance.
I mean, is it a good plan? Not necessarily. Is it entertaining? Yes. Baka, I think, has big Vati energy. I believe that was the Green Tribe last season, right? Now they did end up going to tribal twice, and we'll see if that happens to Baka. But just in terms of like weird shit happens, and they'll be like, "Wow, we get a lot," and then it's gonna fall apart. Like they are going to fall apart at the merge. They will not be sticking together. It's like, why would it? How stupid do I know he's a lot, right? Yeah. But like, it's written down. It's
in a note that he has. He has the note, and you know what it says because you saw it. Yeah, it's just this ridiculous.
Also, has that ever been the way? And I think the closest was like.
I think there has.
Heroes Healers Hustlers, it was like it can only be used at the first tribal, but it was like specifically you were giving it to someone on the tribe that was going to tribal. So it wasn't like a situation of like, well, at your tribal,
I feel like people have had idols expire without having the chance to play them, but I could not tell you when, thus confirming that actually happened. But like it could have been like this is good until the merge type deal, but we're not telling you when the merge is. Let me know in comments if anybody does know. Also let me know that I'm making this up if that is also the case.
Remember when you guys predicted which people on the show?
Honestly, as I was doing it, I'm like, actually, I'm pretty sure there isn't one, but it was a fun bit, so roll with it. Especially because I couldn't pick out one. None of them looked Canadian to me.
Just one look Canadian.
No idea. Wearing plaid, I guess.
That's not even a like stereotype thing. I'm pretty sure most of the Canadians they've had on the show have been like of all different ethnicities.
Yeah, well, because they've been in 41 and 42, right? No.
And then that one hockey guy.
I mean, I suppose there's probably a look that's like, okay, that person is Canadian. But I don't think there's a way to necessarily look Canadian. I mean, it's why we have to travel with like flags on our backpacks so that people don't think we're you.
That's why when I travel, we just are like with someone else. Where are you from? Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, so you should have. You could have gotten away with it with your. Actually, not going to say what I was going to say because I don't want to give personal details about you.
Dox me.
Yeah, it's just this crazy big-brained idea, and the one, I guess, caveat I'll say to otherwise thinking this is ridiculous and you shouldn't do it is one of the greatest moves in the history of the show was an insanely big-brained idea that should never have worked. But there are differences here between what they're thinking to doing and what Suri did. For one, Suri's was a very temporary thing. It was like an afternoon or so, maybe a day to put it in motion, like after he wins immunity, right? Two, the failsafe is, well, guess it didn't work. You were going to go home anyway. And three, there would have been a very clear signal if the plan works, because that's the problem here. If you believe, even if you think that this will work, and it will not, for the reasons already stated, like even if you think that he's wrong, do you really think he'll never look again? Is that you won't know if you're actually successful in keeping him from playing his idol until you've already cast your votes, and so has he. So how would you plan around it? We're like, well, we got him. Let's write down Gabler. No, you can't do that. You have to just presume and act like he is immune, because he will be, because of your own actions and mistakes before. But knowing that, like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, the move is to just make sure he's your ally for one vote. Make sure to give him no reason to believe, that you guys aren't united. The move certainly isn't to bring Sami in on the plan. But yeah, it's just like, because I don't know how you would ever make the move against Gabler, even if you really feel like this is the history's greatest moron and you have him completely snowed. You need to protect yourself. You just need to vote for somebody else. So it's not worth doing.
I think there are two different approaches they could try to have taken instead of what they actually did. One, this would require continuing to work with Gabler and have him think he's your ally. Get to the point where it seems like Elie is really the one in danger, and you're not in danger. Your idol is expiring. Can you please help me, do that? Seems tough. The other option, since they're gaslighting anyway, they clearly don't mind psychological torture. This man seems is not doing great physically. He's struggling in the game. You slowly manipulate him into quitting.
Yes, that's the only way to get rid of Gabler before before the next vote. You can't vote him out. Voting Gabler out is out. I just decided I'm going to say his name different each time. Because once you said Gabler, it's like, oh yeah, I actually took note of that in the episode.
Yeah, the whole time I was listening to the podcast last time, I was like, they say it on the show, you guys.
Yeah, it's one of those mental blocks now, I guess. But yeah, voting him out is out. That's not happening. So yes, hoping he quits and maybe helping him quit is the move, if it has to be a move at all. But the ship has sailed. It's why when you hear that somebody has a temporary idol and they're not going to use it, fly away.
Have we seen anyone convince someone to quit before?
Jeff Probst, I think. Besides, we saw Jeff Probst do with Jeanine, right?
Yeah, because I was like, besides Trish existing, making Lindsay.
Yeah, there you go. She drove Lindsay away. That was something. Yeah, but the teenage girlfriend getting their boyfriend to kill themselves move, that was dank right there. God. This is just wholly inappropriate.
My tragic story is podcasting with Andy.
that was bad. I don't believe that we have. Like, they kept, like, you know, Austin going against his will. I guess the same thing with one of the great winners of all time, Jenna Maraska. But the opposite. Well, as I'm saying, like, they kept, you know, oh no, don't quit. In terms of somebody who just needed a little extra push, like, yeah, maybe you should. I guess Stephanie did that with Janu as well.
Right. It's like, that's probably the closest, because it's like not just Jeff, but a little bit of Stephanie. It's like, I really want to be there. And wow, wouldn't that fuck up their plans? And don't you hate them? Wouldn't you want to mess up their plans because they laughed at you for losing the challenge so fast?
Yeah. So that's what we should see. I'm sure that would be delightful. Just you're kind of worthless. Like, don't you feel like you're worthless? No, I mean, you're totally friendly, right?
No,
just,
it's like, God, you're having such a hard time out here. Like, I hope we can win so you can get some food. I don't know how else you can get food otherwise.
Yeah, or maybe act like you're pulling like a Nneka Purple Kelly. Like, let's do it. Let's quit. And then, Jeff, we quit. Damn! Well, we're going to miss you.
The reverse of, like, everyone's stepping back for someone, so it looks like they step forward. Anyway, that's, you know, if we want another heroes versus villains, get yourself on the villains tribe.
No. And then the person who, like, quit can have an inspirational backstory for their return. My survivor dream was ruined when somebody gaslighted me into quitting.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, like, bullying and, like,
no, just tough, man. You don't need this. You've got a good life. I get it, man. I think about it all the time. It's natural.
Ponderosa's really nice. Like,
and frankly, as a society, we do not value quitters enough. Like, I already have that speech in my bed.
You believe that. That is in your heart.
It's true.
Especially on, like, if it just rained a lot, of like, God, you know where I bet they have nice clean towels.
Man, I just watched the challenge and like 3 people quit and they was right to do so.
God, that was garbage. Aren't you glad I was on vacation when that finale happened?
So at first, yeah, like, I think you even messaged me before I watched and I'm like, I wouldn't have wanted to podcast this. But then the next day I'd gotten worked up enough that it's like.
You needed a rant?
It wouldn't have been so bad. I don't know, you know. We would have had to adjust the volume levels. And then after that, like, everybody had already said their piece of what a crap that was. Other than the hardcore challenge fans are like, oh man, you guys just don't know. Stuff like this happens all the time. It's like, all the time? What a bad show. Our point is that television shouldn't be like this. That game design shouldn't be like this. You guys need to free yourselves.
I mean, even the people for our app that, like, or at least I follow one of them who, like, podcast about it for our app, were like, this was terrible. I hated this. I can't believe I really regret watching that live. I mean, it was like we were already just chilling at the hotel, you know, so you just, like, it was that or HGTV, but God, it was just terrible.
So bad. Unlike this episode, which was, as I will remind people, it was fine.
Yeah. I'll take.
What do you think about Sami flipping over and then narking out the gobbler? No.
Gabler? I don't know, honestly. I don't care. Like, it's just like, if you think I think it's a little funny that it's like, oh, she thinks she's closer to Gabler.
That was the move, because like, as presented in the edit in the story, it could be simple as like last week Sami said that we're gonna do a guy's alliance and he's just living up to that, right? But like, as the scene goes, it's like everybody's like, oh, Elie, you're closest to him, and he's just like, me.
But I'm actually the age of his children. I mean, slightly older. Wink, wink.
It just like felt like, the fragile ego of the young man. Like, how dare people think that she is playing a better game than me? Let me show you something. Like, that was the vibe I got from it. And I kind of liked it because it's just, he's so young and so simple. I am not the dummy you think I am. I am the smart boy. And it's like, okay, like, you're probably, I don't know, you might be reasonably intelligent for a teenager. You are a teenager. We are not. And the difference between that is We have been. We remember how much less smart we were when we were teenagers than now.
So many dumb choices. I mean, for me, it was mostly about boys, but they weren't good choices.
And like, we're relatively like boring and plain in that regard in comparison to the mean, yet still.
And that's the thing too, he's not only 19, he's probably pretty sheltered, because not to, you know, stereotype, but he goes to BYU, so he probably lives, you know, at this point, probably still a pretty sheltered life. I think that would be one way he can pull off being 22, even if he says he's in like whatever grade he's in, because he could say he like went on a mission, although then he'd have to lie about going on a mission, and that'll probably send it straight to hell. But you know, shout out to my former Mormons who are dealing with the change of modesty requirements and are like, wait, why did we have to do that shit? But yeah, like,
feel good about the new people. Don't be the, you know, I paid my student loans. Why should you? So I wear the underwear. Deep. Why shouldn't they?
It's not that. It's a little deeper than that. But you know, I actually have lots of friends in that community. But yeah, I think he, as a young man at BYU who's playing sports, based on the pictures they showed, is used to certain things and he's probably not experiencing. Also burning your pets alive. But what I did love about that sequence the most is that Owen's reaction when Sami's like, yeah, the girls looked through Gabler's bag. He's like, they did? This is brand new information. Yeah. And that is like, yeah, I was there.
The better one reaction for me was when Gibbler went to him with all of this and their plan. And Owen does not agree to the plan to vote out. Like, again, maybe it happened. I don't care the reality of the situation. The scene that we see is silence but engaged in a way that you're hoping the party, you know, interprets as agreement without agreement. And that was very fun for me because it played for an extra beat or two, a lot, where you would assume some vocal acknowledgement that somebody has made a question towards you, and yet no. So I'd love that to continue. Just
I also
Owen's with us completely.
I also liked as someone who doesn't get the big deal with looking through people's bags in terms of like the morality, because it's the show. I think a lot of people, you know, previewing this episode were like, oh, Gabler's going to be so upset. He's going to feel so betrayed and blah, blah, blah. Like, he'll, you know, and the thing is, he felt betrayed, but I think that's fair because like what he was saying was like, oh, well, if Elie is like looking through my bag, then clearly she does not trust me. Yeah. And like, what a correct interpretation of the events, you know, not like, I can't believe they would do that. They seem like such nice girls, you know, or like anything like that. It's just like, oh, I guess she's not working with me as closely as I thought she was. Good to know. I should probably work on getting her out. I'm like, yeah, like, you're not someone I was really rooting for, but that is how you should feel. And also, they're a little, you know, their plan is, Elie and Jeanine's plan is like so arrogant that I kind of do hope it blows up in their face.
Yeah, like in balance, I'd probably be rooting for them versus the people they're up against. But if this plays out that it fails, fair play, and you know, I'll be like, good, this is why you don't do dumb things, you know.
Yeah, what I do kind of hope for is just that they like make it, well, except I don't want Blue to go, but like that they make it to the merge intact and just chaos ensues because they're all trying to sell each other out, and that's fun for everyone. Also, sidebar, poor Jeanine, and just
I know this is scarred up chin so bad.
It's like that's probably like actually uncomfortable too. Like
Yeah.
it's not just that it looked like that is probably like painful, and it just for it to happen like on the first challenge, and it's just like, well, this game's not that long anymore, so she's probably gonna be riding that out.
Yep. Probably the whole time. Yeah. No, yeah.
All her pictures.
National TV, close zooms, and you're just
every future Survivor Wednesday.
Yeah, it looks bad. Not just as you say, from an aesthetic point of view, but like, yeah, like, I'm sure she gets regular treatment for it. But as you know, I said, this is not a clean environment they're in.
I'm just thinking of like moving your face. Like when I was a kid, I scraped up like half my face, and I couldn't go to softball practice because running hurt like my face. So I'm sure that she's like the chin's a little more stable than a cheek, but like
spot for a band-aid.
Oh, not great. It's just I really do feel bad for her. It's rough, literally. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, I think that's enough on that tribe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. If this costs Elie or Jeanine, that will be hilarious. And I guess actually last week we did talk about the morality of the bag. That's kind of where we went, which was to say it's not part of that discussion at all. But I actually don't think it was a great move for them to look through Gabler's bag. Simply because like you could just ask the guy. I think he'll tell you, you know. I can't speak to the point you were making, is that like that he himself made. He's your ally. If they weren't your ally, yeah, get the information any way you can, because you can't trust the information will come from them. And even there, like if he's like maybe later for confirmation, but like, yeah, I don't think he would have kept it a secret. He didn't keep any part of it a secret before now. So it's like, yes, I'm fine with the subterfuge and the lying, but you don't always have to do it. Have you tried asking?
And you could even still do it kind of sneaky in case you're afraid he'll like read into that by just being like, but just differently, right? Like not like trying to make him think that, but just being like, after that, oh man, it sucks that your idol's expired now. That's so lame that they only gave you one good for 2 tribals. And it's like, no, it's 2 tribals I go to. And they're like, oh, great. Okay, cool. Like,
yeah, no, like, yeah, you wouldn't even have to like, yeah, look like you're probing. Although even there, that'd be pretty easy. He's your ally. Oh man, so we're gonna have your idol when we get to the merge, right? And then it's something we can use. Like it just would, like, you didn't have to go to this level, and it's weird that you did. And then it speaks to the story that we're getting. They are way too arrogant. Like, while I believe they are also smarter than the people they're facing off against, you should have a healthy level of respect. And if that level is at the very least, trust their ability to read the rules that were given to them.
Yeah, and like they can be smarter, but I don't know that they're smarter enough for like it's really just being like that those guys aren't that dumb. Like it's a different, it's still smarter, but you need to have a base level of stupidity to be able to pull that kind of stuff, or naivete, or they've actually been starving for 30 days, like Eric, right?
Yeah,
you know, like this.
It's also starstruck, which nobody is of you.
Nobody.
None of you are famous yet.
Took it like a champ.
Yeah. All right, let's flip to the other tribe, because we actually did get to see them this episode, although really mostly just Karla. So we see her find the beware advantage and then not take it, and then obviously take it not that long after that. What was your emotional journey as you see all that?
Yeah, mostly it was funny because, like, I mean, you and I both deal with this as I don't really watch Time Shifted, but just being on the West Coast, obviously watch it later. And so I'll live tweet, but not like excessively because I'm like watching and I'm, usually texting my mom about it and stuff. But so I don't think I even tweeted anything about like, oh, she left it behind. Although I thought to myself that, granted, a shockingly small sample size, but if she had fully left it, it would just be like, so only lesbians leave behind a beware advantage. Because Jeanine
100% of the time the math checks out.
Yeah.
That's how statistics works.
Yep. Let's fill out a survey about it. I feel 9 about this plan. but yes, I thought that was kind of funny, but I wasn't going to tweet that. And I'll just say it on the podcast instead.
I mean, really, I don't know if it's the top 3 most horrible things said on every episode.
No, because it's not a negative. It's just like, what a funny coincidence. That's part of the, more diverse casting, which is great. But also I think it's come up when people talk about like who's getting voted out. It's like, I remember seeing a tweet last year about how Tori was only targeting, like she was only targeting the POC on her tribe, but it was after Zach had been voted out. And I was like, look, I know we all have, I was like, I know we all have feelings about Tori, but give the girl a break. That's the only option.
People need to change their speeds on these things in general. If we're sidebarring, it's like these were the way we criticized the show in the first 40 seasons, but there's a lot of minorities now. So yeah, some of them might go out in succession because there are fewer non-minority people to interrupt those successions. And the same thing is like, the target's like, have you looked at who actually is in the post-merge? Because I think in both there's like 2 white people. So let's like eventually we can move on to different discussions. Practically, we might need to niche our discussions a bit more than just non-white and white.
Yeah. Anyway, so when she left, I was like, like she's in kind of the swing position, so I get it. But it was also like, but if she does want to go with the women and James, it actually would be fine if she lost a vote because there's only 2, of Ryan and Gio. Now, if she feels more like she wants to be as Ryan and Gio, then she really needs it. But then it was also, I've seen some people theorizing that this might have all happened after the challenge, in which case, if that's true, which we don't know, if that's true, then go back for it. Like, you're not going to travel right away. You've got time. Like that. And even if it was before, it's like, well, the problem with Cody is that it was like right before they were going to tribal. And so she took it, she knew enough that it's like, okay, it would be a losing vote. Let me think about it. How do I feel about it? She's processed it, talked it out vaguely in a way that really thought she was going to try to lead James to it, but that didn't happen. And I went for it. And, I don't have a problem with that because she put actual thought into it, unlike Cody, who was like, ooh, shiny, even though it's not even shiny. But like, oh, it says beware, I'm going to tribal in 15 minutes. Let me see what this is. We don't know how long it actually was, but I can't imagine it was more than an hour.
Well, I mean, just structure of time, there can't be much time. There's 2 episodes, 2 days per episode. Challenges take a lot of time. They obviously wait for sundown for challenges, but there cannot be that many hours in between the 2 things.
Yeah, so I thought it was fun, and I thought it was interesting, just kind of the different ways she went about it with each person. Although I did kind of wonder once she kind of pivoted to it being like, oh, it'll be like, so we have something to remember each other by. It's like, if other people talk about this and James like, wait, I thought she was making a necklace for her girlfriend or wife, sorry, it was Ryan's girlfriend is what she was coming up with the trade for. But yeah, like I thought that was kind of funny because it's like, I feel like you could still trade other things, but stick with that it's a necklace for your wife because it's weird if some of the beads are, but I guess it'd be like, I'll give it to her, but I'm with her all the time anyway, so I'll also remember you this way. It's also kind of funny to be like, let's make sure we always remember each other on day 6. Or whichever it was, but
it actually might be day 6 because I think
I think she said it at one point. I also think when Cassidy was like, no, I don't need your earring, like, I think as she's like, no, take it, like, I feel like she's like, no, I'll just give you the bead. Like, that made sense to me because why would you want one earring? As someone who's so lazy about wearing earrings, I just wear the ones I was pierced in, unless it's a special occasion. But still, like, and then Lindsay seemed very excited about the one earring, so maybe Cassidy will just give it to her.
Maybe. Lindsay seems very excited about many things. It seems to be her default setting.
Like, she's been dreaming, she's one of us. She's been watching since the beginning. Like when she was like, I've watched Survivor longer than I've known my husband. I was like, me too.
Same. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
for you,
'cause,
that's really saying something. For
it
me,
is.
it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You were 10.
Yeah, I hope that'd be so gross if it wasn't true.
I mean, you could be like childhood sweethearts or something.
I also think that's kind of gross. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. What if we're getting at the weeds? But I was like, what if you've known each other since then?
And then like there's like a time when you're apart, and then you there are exceptions.
My friend's parents, they like grew up together, and then they're from Alaska, so like there's not that many people. And then they left, went to Seattle, you know, and then they met each other again as adults. I'm like, that seems fine.
Yeah. It's just the transition between knowing each other as children and then, you know, being together as adults. That's a tough one. Because
unless it's like you started at like 14 and then
I mean, I struggled even going from like the girlfriend crush of like grade 4 through 7 to like girlfriend stuff as teenager. Like
you had a crush on the same girl from 4th grade to 7th grade?
It should depend on if she was in my class or not. So maybe 4, but not 5, but then 6, you know. So she was my girlfriend, but we never got past like the slow dancing phase because it was so difficult to make that leap from like this girl I knew as a child, prepubescent, to now these other feelings that I have, you know.
As a late
it's all about backstory, so people get. This is the closest I get to tragic backstory.
It was hard for me to
I never kissed my first crush girlfriend. The relationship ended, you know, rather abruptly when I met another girl who kissed me the first day I met her. Like, oh, that's how it works. Moving on.
Oh, we don't have to know when my first kiss was.
Anyway, my kind of journey while watching Karla go through her thing, it's like at first I was like, wait, why is her beware advantage much harder to get? You know, Goobler's was just like right there.
Gabler doesn't even have a beware advantage. What are you talking about?
All right, wrong one. Sorry. Honestly, Cody and Goobler have like similar vibes for me.
You're thinking because Cody is a goober.
There we go. That must be it. I gotta get the pronunciations right.
But yeah, it was just like on a rock.
Yeah, and then like the one that I think it was Elie who passed by. It was just like if she turned her head slightly upwards from where she was looking at the tree, she would have saw it. Like that one was harder.
People don't think to look up.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like Karla was like unfortunately harder. Like it should have fallen on her or something. And then so she sees it, and I'm like, I think she's not going to take it. Like, and instantly, because we had already seen her pass at the rocks, and then she got it. And then, like you, when she's talking to him, like, is she trying to get James to do it? So then at least she kind of has partial ownership of it.
Happy birthday, James.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't want to assume the risk, but I would prefer somebody I'm aligned with to have it. Like, yeah, that makes some sense, right? Although, do you really want the person you're aligned with to not have a vote? Now, the one thing I would have said, I also thought is like, she should have taken that. Nobody's coming for you, Karla. You don't need your vote. Get that advantage. But then when she goes back to get it, I'm like, oh man, what I wouldn't give for a cutscene of somebody else finding it. Like it not being there and then cut to. Because then it would, not anything against her. She's probably my favorite person on this tribe, but hey, man, fortune favors the bold. Or brave, I think the phrase is that Matt Damon tried to sell crypto with us. Who knows? I've heard it both ways. So that's kind of where I was at. I'm glad she did it. I'm
sorry, I have to be annoying. I went to Google it. I typed in fortune fav and it like FAV and it autofills to favors the bold, but right below that it says favors the brave.
Yeah, I think it's been said both ways. They used it to sell crypto, and then the fun fact is like the guy who said it like died not long after that because he took too many risks. Fortune did not favor that guy. I think he died in a naval battle. We like Karla, right? Karla's great.
I love Karla. Yeah, Karla's great. I actually, and maybe it's because we haven't seen them go to tribal or something, but I really like the blue tribe in general.
It's almost certainly because we haven't seen them.
Yeah. So I just haven't seen them be annoying, but I was like, what we have seen, I was like, I like all of them, and I want them to keep winning because I don't want to lose any of them yet.
Yeah, Ryan's great. Gio's story, ranks maybe top 5, I think. Yeah, and that. And then I we haven't got a lot, but I do really like Lindsay's vibe because she's just always like, stepping forward to take on like some of the most difficult challenges within challenges.
You know what she is? She's a Chrissy that doesn't hate women.
Thus far, at least, yes.
Thus far. I mean, she
actively wants a women's alliance, yeah.
But yeah, that we've seen so far. I could see her really filling that archetype, but like having a social game and people liking her.
Cassidy is also there.
She's very pretty.
Very pretty. And
we lost Justine, so we gotta
another must rise.
What?
Another must rise to take her place.
Yes, indeed. Although my husband's a big Elie fan in that regard, which I was like, okay.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Really
Jeanine unfortunately has been knocked out of the competition in some regards. It just looks so painful.
Yeah, it looks really painful. I hope she's getting a lot of use for it.
Yes. I'm hoping like a full round of antibiotics and all that.
Yeah.
I guess at the beat assembly.
I'm just imagining getting a staph infection on your face. I hope that doesn't happen to her. We haven't seen. I feel like
that would have long-lasting results, right? Where they get like the melon baller scooping it out.
Yeah. Thank God they're not on Co-Wrong in Cambodia. Yeah, because I don't think we've seen someone leave because of an infection in a while.
No, I don't think so.
Cambodia must have spooked them. They were like, even though only one person actually went home because of that, like we had so many people were dealing with it after that they're like, all right, we gotta not mess around with that. The Co-Wrong spooked them in a lot of ways. I think they're like, okay, you can drink out of the well, it's fine. Here's antibiotics.
Whatever we need to do to not kill our competitors. Less meat on the challenge.
Like, or if you win meat, when's the last time you've eaten meat?
That's right.
And answer that, because I'll tell you.
Make sure we have lots of salad.
I had something by accident that had lard in it, and I ended up throwing up in the forest on a hike. It was horrible. So
I can believe that a hike was horrible.
I like hiking. I just don't like food poisoning.
Bit of both.
Full take. I know. Hot take.
Yeah. I found the bead assembling scene a little less compelling this way. Not any fault on her own. I don't know that it is something that has like a sequel like legs to it.
What I think helped is that, because I totally get that, but it was interesting, especially because we haven't seen this tribe go to tribal, that we kind of got to learn more about them through that, with her kind of explaining how she approached each thing. Like, oh, I know it's tough because Gio is really attached to like the souvenirs and stuff, so here I'm giving him more. And like Ryan, he really cares about his girlfriend, like we didn't even know he had one. I heard many hearts break because I know he's a favorite.
It was girlfriend, not wife or fiance. Everything's still fair game.
Yeah. And then her, for some reason, deciding that Lindsay and Cassidy needed goods, which I don't think was necessarily true.
I think at that point, like that was the approach that had worked somewhere before. It's like, okay,
yeah, that she's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna start trading, and now that's the thing. And James is probably like, it's my birthday, and you just took things from me. Like I didn't get anything. What the hell? But maybe she actually did just give him something after we, and it obviously didn't matter. So I thought that aspect at least made it fun. Whereas like. In Cody's was fun because it was like so close in the hat of it all, but at the end of the day it was really just like, come on.
Yeah. And then when that didn't work, Nneka would be like, but come on. Yeah. No, and like the way how both of it played out with relative ease, it's like I don't know that this was actually we'll see. We've got one more tribe, if any tribe,
and what a tribe.
It's going to put up a fight, like maybe like just yesterday, Goobler would have been like just fine, no matter what. Now he's like, I'm not giving you nothing. How about you just take it from my bag? I hear that's what you do.
I think Owen would be the only one who could probably pull it off. I think he is decidedly in the middle there, with no one really even realizing it. So he might be able to.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I take it all back. I want Sami to find it and try to do this.
Oh yeah, I'm saying, I'm just saying who I think is most likely to have.
Yeah. No. I was just saying, like, I don't know if this has future interest. No, I think that could. Yeah, and that's what we need to see. We need to see somebody just blow everything up by.
Yeah, someone's got to fail.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back on board. In the, I guess what I'm more worried though is like if it is this thing, because ultimately, who really fucking cares about beats? It's like that's the thing. Like, oh, I tricked them out of it, and I think it's kind of like you're asking for something that I didn't know I should care about. Should I care? You know what? I don't care. Go ahead. It seems to matter to you, not to me. We're gonna see it again next season. It's gonna be the same thing. So it's like six of these.
That's the problem.
Yeah, unless like they just now realize like, okay, that wasn't quite it, and they make a slight change.
Yeah, because at least like the phrases weren't as funny, the second time around, but at least they were different phrases. So like,
yeah, and they were like, oh, that last time was funny, and there's still like possibilities here. Whereas, yeah, maybe they saw it's like, okay, it was fine, but it never was more than an hour's worth of work. Like where like nobody ever lost a vote over it. So maybe they will make an adjustment without having to see it. So we get 3 people going to that island, the unnamed island of whatever. Luckily, they went back for Noelle's leg.
My mom was like very concerned about that. She's like,
my wife mentioned it as well, and I'm just like, that's just for the scene. They will get her leg.
Yeah, I was like, they're definitely gonna go back and get like they're not doing that. I was glad though, however, knowing that she did take it off to go swimming, that they did not trudge through the water this time, because I wonder if that's why, or if it was just like, well, they didn't seem to chat as much.
Yeah, challenge them too much, and we're not getting what we want out of it, which is, of course, opportunities for tragic backstory. A lot of people pose this question, so it's not an original thought on my part at all, but given what happened with Noelle, is the move to be like, oh my god, I need this so bad? Because they're all like, oh, maybe you need it, and I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting because I think like some of it might have been luck of the draw. I think Owen and James were honestly right to not risk it. Not only because like, hey, they, maybe that connection will be helpful at the merge, they don't know. But like, I think Owen got a vote last time. He's in a tribe of 5. Like, he probably wants his vote. James could maybe risk it a little more, but like they haven't even gone to tribal, so you don't really know where people's allegiances lie, and it's like having a vote is important. Also, Karla kind of set the precedent on their tribe of that they're not doing it, and they seem to really, because they haven't gone to tribal, and like they're really just in the like we're a family mode still, and so maybe like like. Yeah, you could do that, or and make someone mad at you, or you just be like, I don't really want to lose my vote, and these advantages, he doesn't know that Gabler got an idol, so what he's seen has been an extra vote typically, so he's probably like, yeah, I don't need an extra vote. I'm in an alliance of 4 on a 6-person tribe.
You want vote? They need more than an extra vote. A vote would be more important,
exactly,
than an extra vote. Yeah, and Owen and James both are kind of the swing votes on their tribe. Obviously, James not technically because but
Karla is a little bit more. But
I mean, it's probably 2 people in an even number.
To pull someone in. So.
Yeah. I mean, people asking if that's the move going forward, I'd say not anymore. It's not, because I think if you play that card in future seasons amongst people who have seen this season, it'd be like, nice try. We all need it. Oh my god. Now, as far as Owen and James, I mean, in general, I kind of feel like it's not worth going for it at all unless you need it. If your vote is less important, because basically they're voting for me, my vote isn't going to matter whether I use it or not. Now, I guess the one thing you do risk is if you lose your vote, you cannot shot in the dark. But
that's true.
That's a pretty desperate gamble in a sense. Again, like the odds are probably better in your favor that you will get something from this game.
I think it's like
that would help you more than getting the shot in the dark.
At minimum, it's unroll. 1 and 3 instead of 1 and 6. So.
Yeah, and then obviously we don't quite know what it is. We've seen seasons where people who desperately needed an advantage, say, spent island currency to get one, and then it was worthless for their current position. But I still think, the move would be, if you're in Noelle's position, go for it, even if the other 2 are, because the die that you do not roll might not come up your way. Who's standing out for you so far?
Yeah, I think Karla we talked about. Cody, obviously.
Obviously.
I think Jesse has been interesting to watch.
I liked his little moment of frustration at the,
Yeah, the surface. It's like a very none. Like, yeah, it was like what? And
that, to be fair, I think he's exaggerating. Him and Dwight were using a similar scale of adjectiveness, and you were just more strong. But then compared to numbers,
Meg and Cody were using a similar scale. It's like his frustration should have been after Cody, not after himself. But I did think it was interesting that Jeff thought it was so funny when he then said 10. It was like, he didn't say that the problem was being too confident. He just wanted everyone on the same scale. He said extremely before, now he's at a 10.
A plus.
But yeah, I think he's at least shown, there's maybe been some mistakes, but have shown signs of interesting gameplay, and most winners don't have like no mistakes unless they're first season Kim Spradlin. But
I think people are fair to be like, oh, maybe he isn't as good enough with people. Sure, yeah, if we're talking about winners. In terms of people I connect with on the show, he's still on that list, and then we'll see where it goes from here.
On Baca, I mean, kind of at a point, like, they almost all, like, stand out in very different ways of, like, whether it means I'm rooting for them or not, but like, they all seem interesting, and, well, Jeanine mostly just has that scab, poor thing. Yeah. But there's certainly a lot going on with Elie and with Gabler and Sami, and then Owen is just kind of like chill, but like secretly chill. Like he's like outwardly chill, but inside is just like grumbling and is like against everybody, which is kind of interesting. I really kind of want them just to all make the merge to see what happens, but I also want like to see a plan.
A tribal council with them,
yeah.
I want Jeanine to go long enough in the game that her, inspiring backstory is the time that she cut open her chin on national. We could like flashback in sepia tone.
It really, I gotta say, the stories is one thing, but they're doing too much with like showing the flashback. Like, no disrespect to Jesse's family, but like getting the flashbacks of like him graduating and like stuff like that, and after being incarcerated, sure, that makes sense. But like, we've had old seasons have had confessionals of people talking about like losing someone in their life or something. It still works, like, to see that person deal with their actual emotion rather than just also seeing photos of this person. And like, I'm sure that's really nice for Jesse and his family, so I get like no disrespect there, but for like the TV audience, it's just like, okay. Or even like Noelle's backstory, it's like, yeah, we get it, she lost her leg, we have already seen that. Like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, there's a picture of her in high school where she still has both legs. That makes sense because she said she was 19. Like, yeah. I guess maybe
I feel like they already told the story in the the first episode, unless this is somehow preseason content that found its way. But I knew that she was a Paralympian who had the record. I guess this time
it's probably in her like bio. I think you might have. At least I think some of us talked about it in Slack or something. Like, there is a Paralympian, and then it's like, gosh, which one could it be?
Yeah, but like specifically that she like set the record and all that feels like the show gave me that info because I don't know where else I would have got it. Maybe social media, who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
or really what got me about flashbacks is the flashback at the beginning of the episode of like, I guess because we don't do previously anymore, that it's just like Cody being like, well, last night went to play. Like, okay, you could talk about some of it. I don't need to actually see just Justine's torch getting snuffed. Like,
yeah. No, that one went long. Like, you're just talking about like, oh, the plan worked and all that. That's fine. That's always kind of happened. People coming back from tribal council usually works better if they're kind of celebrating with the people that like they did it with than confessional. But yeah, it was like, this is a whole replay. Like, this is like a Bachelor type replay of like last time prior to the commercial. This is the whole scene again.
I skipped through so much. I've been trapped watching it recently because of knowing someone through someone else, and I will not say too much more because of doxing. But I'm sorry to people who like that show, but I cannot live like this. It's just too cringe for me. But yeah, it's so much extra content to skip over. They play like 2 minutes of previews, 2 full minutes of previews of like, not like this is what happened last time, but like this is what's gonna happen in the season.
Oh yeah, and the most shocking elimination ever.
It like spoils its own show. It's crazy. Anyway, so I'm glad, I guess, that Survivor doesn't do that, or like, and that they use dream teamers for the challenges, unlike the challenge, which shows the people who are in that elimination. I'm like, what are we doing?
And this really is the gold standard of reality television.
It really is.
This and finding out who's related to what celebrity.
It's so good. I'm sorry. A friend of mine just started watching it today and watched 9 episodes today. She has a job and she watched it all. And then she tweeted that it's a perfect show. And I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you this. So yeah, guys, when the off season hits, when it's like your winter break or you're bored over Thanksgiving break, I guess, which is sooner for you than it is for the Americans, watch Claim to Fame, all 10 episodes streaming on Hulu. I'm not sponsored. I just love the show and I want you all to enjoy it because it'll make you happy.
If it's on Hulu, there's a chance I have no access to it.
Yeah, I know. It's an ABC show originally, so it might be on.
Yeah, I could see it eventually also making it to Disney Plus here.
Yeah,
all right. Any other thoughts about the reality TV show that this podcast is ostensibly about?
I mean, is it as good as Claim to Fame? That's a good question.
I'd say probably not yet, right?
Yeah, not yet. You should see how that first episode ends. It's wild. Sorry. I'll be serious. But do you want that? No, I mean, I think it's been enjoyable. I think we're kind of seeing the like new era get a little tired. So I hope they start switching things up. I think one thing, as we've talked about, these like smaller tribes making challenges matter more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like we haven't seen swaps in a while and stuff like that. I wonder, now that they're doing 26 days, like, are we never going to get a 20-person cast again, because they just won't have the time to deal with that?
I think so, because you can always just knock off 2 people in an episode.
Yeah.
I more likely like a returning season.
That's true. I would obviously it's good to refill the rosters, but there are some people I think would be fun to.
Yeah, I think next cycle it would make sense to do so.
Yeah, maybe like 45.
Not just the post 40s, but late 30s.
Yes, we need some more David versus Goliath. Apparently Jay is on the challenge again, so I wonder if that means we'll never get him on Survivor, which is a tragedy because Jay was great.
Yeah, I find a lot of people who are on reality shows don't mind going on other reality shows.
No, but I mean like logistically, not like would he do it?
Yeah. I
Bring
think
Mike White back.
Now that's somebody who I think is busy.
Yeah, although I mean the man is not ashamed. He has no Chase Rice. Of like, no, I was never on Survivor. The fact that I was late because our train was like, I was on vacation. We watched the Emmys and I turned it on late. And the first thing I saw was Mike White winning and talking about how he was on Survivor in his acceptance speech. It was incredible. It was wonderful. All
right, White Lotus 2, October 30th, everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's all for this episode. If people want to subscribe, they can do that. The ways you subscribe to a podcast. You don't need me to teach you how to do that. You can watch.
If you do, how are you listening to this?
I'm guessing they clicked something on the various social medias, which you can also follow us on. The show is Purple Rock Pod. I am Purple Rock Andy. You are
Purple Rock Emma.
Our website is purplerockpodcast.com. We're also on YouTube. This is a video as opposed to the other times where we just slap a picture over audio. Happy Thanksgiving to the people who are celebrating Thanksgiving this weekend at a much more sensible time as opposed to a few weeks before you have to see your family all over again. This way it spaces it out just a little bit. It's nice.
We just trade off every year.
See, I gather my whole family.
That's because you have kids. You're the hub.
That's true.
Nobody travels for the childless couple in their 30s.
I mean, obviously, the gimmick is always to be like, oh, I'm in Canada. The way we do things is better. We took this idea from you guys, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like,
hey, that's pretty smart. Let's have a holiday in the fall.
However, it probably means your Thanksgiving isn't steeped in racism. Not that, because, if there's one thing Canada has fine, it's relations with its the native peoples.
Community. Yeah, we are just paragons in how we treat First Nations. Yeah,
Watch Reservation Dogs. It's great.
Again, in that respect, like many things, maybe better than the country below us. Also, in many things, that not a helpful comparison. Just not, trying to like, oh, we're better than Americans at this. Yeah, have higher standards. Is all I'm saying. It's like, oh, hey, Survivor's better than Challenge. Whoopee. It's really not there. All right. That's all for now. Let's hit some theme music.